Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to Collection of Dads. It's Mr. Snorlaxx here. It's been a while since we've had one of these chats, so I am back. Special one today. I've watched 50 films this year, all unique, never seen before for myself. I want to rank them, essentially, and talk about them, go through them. As I say, there's not one film within this list I had seen previous to the first watch. So they're all unique to me. Hopefully there's some here that might interest you guys, or you've seen before and you have a different opinion on it. I'd like to hear your views on some of these that as I go through them. I've left a nice little gap here for the movie posters and my ratings. Alright, hence why I am more to the left or the right, whatever it appears on the screen. Firstly, got a massive shout out to the fact we've hit 100 subscribers. Massive, thank you very much. It might be a small milestone to some, but a massive one for us, where we've been sort of plugging and we had, as I mentioned on the previous video or some other sort of content we've done, we had taken a little hiatus through no real reason, apart from we've all been super busy with stuff going on in the summer, stuff like that. So without further ado, I'd like to get into this, and we'll get into this list, and hopefully there's some interesting films, or I might have missed the mark massively on some of them, and you might have a different opinion, as I mentioned. So bear with me, there's 50 to get through. I will try and be as quick as possible. What I will do is go through the plot initially, basically the summary on IMDb, and then I'll give one or two sentences about my views and my rating. The rating will be on screen, obviously, so we'll go from there. Okay, so as I say, I've watched 50 movies so far this year, which is really good for me. I've seen some absolute amazing ones, and actually there's not that many terrible films. As you'll see, my opinions start getting more and more positive around these films. You'll know what I mean, alright? But with 50, we'll kick it off. The Wooden Spoon Award is Body Cam. Insert a picture here. Body Cam, this was... Okay, let me tell the plot first. So the plot is two police officers investigate a domestic dispute, and there is an accidental shooting. Not wanting to be crucified by the public, the officers attempt to cover it up, only to uncover the cameras aren't the only things watching them. Brilliant premise, really good premise. I really like the idea of that. I think that's great. A horror movie based on police body-worn camera or video is just really good idea. But unfortunately, as you can see on my score up here, and the fact it's 50 out of 50 would say that it didn't go down very well with myself. So less said about this one the better, really. Genuinely is one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's just a great concept. It's just unfortunately ruined by so many plot holes, and the use of AI in this film is just dreadful. It's just absolute slop. Massive pass, but it does get the award for the Wooden Spoon. So if you're interested in watching a terrible film, go and watch that one, because I'll probably speaking more on that one than I will any others. But anyway, the less said, the better. Okay, moving on to number 49, we've got a film called Crazy Old Lady. A man is asked by his ex-girlfriend to care temporarily for her senile mother, Alicia, but Alicia won't let him leave, turning a simple task into a nightmare he must escape. It's a bit like Body Cam in the sense and a lot of these, the ones that have negative reviews tend to be the ones that really have good idea and are just delivered horrendously. So again, another terrible movie with a great premise, just executed awfully, really. Just unanswered points throughout, just terrible ending, and at times it was just boring. It just didn't feel like a horror movie from my recollection. So as I say, there's the score up there. Number 49. We'll move on. Number 48 is a film called A Desert. The plot of this is A photographer's road trip takes a dark turn when he befriends a reckless couple, plunging him into a nightmarish neo-noir spiral of unpredictable horror. I feel like I should have liked this one more, or I should have got it more. I just didn't. I just might have missed the point of it, or I might have watched it when I was really tired, or something like that. I just don't know. But I may have missed the point of the movie. I just found it excruciatingly boring. It's just dull as dishwater. Really is from what I remember. It's just confusing for no real reason, really. But again, good premise. They're all going to be good premises. I think most premises on the summary does sound good, but unfortunately, not doesn't pull off. Number 47, Superhost. So the plot is with their following count dwindling, travel vloggers Teddy and Claire pivot to creating viral content around their most recent superhost, Rebecca, who wants more from the duo than a great review. Sorry, don't know why I read it like that. So yeah, basically, a great idea again about these vloggers that go and review an Airbnb essentially, and then try and get a review from the owner. It's just typical American corny, low budget acting. Just honestly, I must admit though, the saving grace in this was the superhost. Rebecca in this, I thought she was really good. There was like elements of like obsession kind of vibes to it. It's just a general terrible film, I think. But yeah, just let down by terrible, cheap budget, corny acting. Whatever. We're going to move on to 46, is Caveat. So a lone drifter suffering from partial memory loss accepts a job to look after a psychologically troubled woman in an abandoned house on an isolated island. Sounds cool, right? Unfortunately, my view on this was it was sort of a cat and mouse movie, which just couldn't decide what camp it wanted to be in, whether it wanted to be a psychological horror or whether it wanted to be a supernatural horror. It went with both and executed both elements like really badly, to be fair. As I say, the redeeming feature in this one was again, like a lot of these, the redeeming features tend to be solo performances within the film, and this was one of them. The main guy in it was really good, but again, just a movie that just created more questions than answers, and it just didn't have much going for it, to be honest with you. Moving on. Number 45 is Gerald's Game. Gerald's Game, quite a popular movie on Netflix when it came out, I believe. So the plot for this one is a couple tries to spice up their marriage in a remote lake house after the husband dies unexpectedly. The wife is left handcuffed to their bed frame and must fight to survive and break free. Straight after this, I was really unsure whether I liked it or not. I was very much on the fence with it. I feel like the actual plot, like material, was pure horrifying. It really is, isn't it? Like, my views were that not everything needs a film adaptation, and this is certainly one of them. I feel like there was a lot of filler. I know this is based off a book, obviously, and it's just one I wish they sort of focused on the actual horror of being trapped, without being able to get out of bed. Like, that is one of the most horrifying themes ever, when you genuinely couldn't get out of handcuffs tied to a bed. As I say, I know it's based on a book and they had to do the other element. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. But it's just, yeah, bit naff. Number 44, Exhibit A. Now, this is the last movie that I didn't like in this list, I think. It's, despite the points bumping up here, and it not being obviously dead last, it weren't a terrible movie by any stretch of the imagination. However, I can't bring myself to say I like this one. It actually truly made me sick. This film, it did really well at sort of making you forget you're watching a horror movie at times. Back to the plot. Sorry, I didn't even mention the plot of this one. This is a timely story of a normal family disintegrating under financial pressure, eventually driven to the unimaginable. We witness the terrifying events unfold through daughter Judith's video camera, which subsequently becomes Exhibit A. So, I mean, by just saying the plot, you already know it's not going to be a nice, happy-go-lucky sort of film. It's very gritty. It's English, so it's got its grit, and it's sort of made in the early 2000s, I believe. So it has got that style to it, but yeah, as I was just saying in my review before I sort of said about the plot, it's, if you really want a shock factor and to kind of feel sick after it, you should probably watch this one. It's just horrendously depressing, really bad. Like, yeah, I've not quite felt like this after a film in a while. Yeah, sickening. Thinking about it is sickening as well. So, anyway. Then we move to 43, is a film called Green Room. So the plot is a punk rock band is forced to fight for survival after witnessing something they shouldn't at a neo-Nazi skinhead bar. Really cool on paper, that sounds, doesn't it? It actually is. It was actually quite a cool movie. It was. I've not really got much to say about this one apart from it was a sort of a chaotic hour and a half, silly, gory, and pretty fun. Yeah. 42 is 28 years later at the Bone Temple. As Spike is inducted into Jimmy Crystal's gang on the mainland, Dr. Kelson makes a discovery that could alter the world. So I did like this. I like this in the sense that it's part of the 28 sort of franchise. There is part of me that felt like it was a sort of pointless entry into the franchise and just quite an unneeded movie, to be honest with you. It's just unnecessary fan service. It doesn't always work. I think this franchise should now sort of be tucked into bed, be left alone now. I think there's not much more to say in that realm. But yeah, it weren't terrible, it weren't bad. Number 41, Terrifier. So the plot of this one is a maniac named Art the Clown terrorizes two friends on Halloween and everyone who gets in his way. So this is the latest movie I actually watched in this list. I watched this yesterday actually, and it's just complete gore fest, isn't it? I'm sure a lot of you have seen this one. It's quite a staple in the horror scene, slasher scene. I'm sure. So it's pretty rancid stuff, to be honest. Aside from the corny acting and story, it's got a weird bit of a charm to it, especially how the first one was filmed. I've not actually seen the others yet, but I will obviously watch them in the second half of the year. But yeah, not much more to say. It's Art the Clown. Okay, moving on to number 40, Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man. The plot of this one is during World War II, Tommy Shelby returns to a bombed Birmingham and becomes involved in a secret wartime mission, facing new threats as he reckons with his past. I felt this story could have been told over sort of 4 to 5 more 1 hour episodes, essentially. I felt the pacing was off and just felt like it was made for the sake of it. I don't know why they made it like this, and they definitely could have carried it on. Cillian Murphy never misses, does he? And it's a great performance from Barry Keoghan, but that's expected, and that's probably the reason why it's got the mark it's got. Yeah, not a terrible movie. I don't have much to say. If you like Peaky Blinders, go and watch it. Number 39. This is a movie called Stop Motion. The plot is a stop-motion animator struggles to control her demons after the loss of her overbearing mother. This is like the first movie I watched this year where I thought the unique concepts for films. I just love unique concepts, and this is one of them. This is like a really cool concept. I've never seen a film quite like it. It kind of says what it does on the plot. That there is a lot of, you're kind of made to feel uncomfortable and grim just through the makings of stop motion little clay movies. Really good, really interesting themes of this one, and it's some of the refined horror experience wasn't there, hence why it probably is this low on the list. But again, really good horror movie. I think you should watch it. Number 38 is Super Mario Galaxy. Mario ventures into space, exploring cosmic worlds and tackling galactic challenges far from the familiar Mushroom Kingdom. Not much to say on this one. Not as good as the first one. It was fun watch for an hour and a half, and Star Fox's quality. Number 37 is Hell House LLC 2, The Abaddon Hotel. The plot for this one is 2 years after escaping from demonic terror, a young woman is still haunted by unnatural visions. So you'll see, obviously, Hell House 1 was watched this year, and this will be higher up the list. But so it's a bit backwards in the sense that I'm rating this one first, but this came 37th. and it's a great second entry into the Hell House LLC series compared to the initial movie, which was, I thought, genius in its own right. It didn't quite hit the heights of the first one. There were some decent jump scares and uncomfortable moments, but it's just not, doesn't feel as nightmare fuelish as the first one. There was a good twist though in this one. But if number one was the one and only Hell House movie they'd made, then that would be fine. I have only to this point watched 1 and 2, so there will be the others being watched at some point. But yeah, not as good, but still good horror movie. Okay, number 36 is Mads, or Mad S. Not quite. I believe it's French. I believe it's a French film. It's certainly a foreign film, so there's subtitles. And the plot of this one is a teenager stops off to see his dealer to test a new drug before heading off for a night of partying. On the way home, he picks up an injured woman, and the night takes a surreal turn. I really like this one, and it's a shame it's this far down, but just fortunately, it's just how it is and how my ratings were. But this film did do a really good job at sort of keeping you guessing throughout. It was an interesting spin on a sort of severely bad drug-induced trip, but kept you wondering what was real and what wasn't. So it's quite an interesting concept, and yeah, as I said, it keeps you guessing, and it's worth a watch. Okay, number 35 is Mandalorian and Grogu. So the plot was once a lonely bounty hunter, Mandalorian Din Djarin, and his apprentice Grogu embark on an exciting new Star Wars adventure. I liked it. I wish I liked it more. It's got Star Wars in the background, Star Wars bag on the bed. I'm a Star Wars fan, right? So it just kind of felt like a really well produced long episode. I feel like if they were going to bank on a Mandalorian and Grogu movie, they could have waited. And I just feel like it's a real missed opportunity to expand on sort of the origin of Grogu. And it's just kind of an unnecessary movie, a bit of a cash grab. Just Star Wars ain't done much for a couple of years or whatever. You know, let's make a Mandalorian Grogu movie, which is brilliant, the idea of it. But yeah, the reason I'm not being harsh, as mentioned, it wasn't terrible. It's because it's Star Wars is where it belongs. If this wasn't Star Wars, it just, you wouldn't even think about this movie much, and it'd probably be lower down the list. It's just quite a forgettable movie, to be honest with you. Some good bits in it, but yeah, I wish they'd waited and came up with a much better story. Number 34, I've done a review of this one on the channel. Heel, or the original title is The Good Boy. So, a 19-year-old criminal, Tommy, is kidnapped and forced into a rehabilitation process by a dysfunctional couple, Chris and Catherine, who try to make him a good boy. Tommy must find a way to escape. Really cool. Stephen Graham is obviously the main swinging point as to why I watched this one. He's just a master in everything he does, isn't he? Let's be honest. The dynamic between the two main characters was really good. Unfortunately, just a lack of jeopardy throughout and not enough tension build up. It wasn't really an amazing payoff either. I just fell down at the last, but still decent psychological thriller. Go and check my review out if you've not watched it already. Number 33 is Speak No Evil. This is the 2022 Danish version. So the plot is a Danish family visits a Dutch family they met on holiday. What was supposed to be an idyllic weekend slowly starts unravelling as the Danes try to stay positive in the face of unpleasantness. Really, the story and the build up for this one was really good. Is where the bulk of the score comes from for this one. It's just, in the end, the last act of this movie was kind of pointless. It's just a lot of stupid moments. I just felt they used to drag the movie out. But do you know what? The first sort of hour or so is really good. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if enjoyed is the right word, but it makes you uncomfortable. It makes you on edge, which is what a horror film should do. It's pretty good, pretty decent. Number 32 is The Borderlands, not to be confused with the movie adaptation of the video game. This is The Borderlands, and the plot is a team of Vatican investigators descend upon a church in a remote area to demystify the unusual happenings, but what they discover is far more disturbing than they first imagined. This is really cool. This concept of this one is around essentially investigators sent from the Vatican Catholic Church to check out a claim to a miracle, essentially. Really mad, horrifying imagery in this one. Just let down again by some bit not great acting. But overall, decent horror film. Quite an interesting plot. Go and watch it. Number 31 is The Royal Hotel. Two backpacker friends take a job in a remote Australian pub for some extra cash and are confronted with a bunch of unruly locals and a situation that rapidly leaps out of their control. So this is towards the end of sort of this mark, the 6 out of 10, the 3 stars, but it's just let down a little bit by the lack of payoff, really. It teetered on something really big happening. It just didn't. Unfortunately, the last 15 minutes let this one down. But it was good. A decent movie. Uncomfortable as well, really. Number 30 is The Sadness. So when Jim and Kat are separated during a sudden outbreak, they fight through a collapsing TP, where infected victims retain their minds while surrendering to violent impulses. This is one of the most sickening movies I've ever seen in terms of gore and mad violence. It's just like really brilliantly done and very convincing, and maybe too violent if that's even possible. Very good spin on a virus-related mania movie. Good. Number 29 was Identity. So this is where we move into 7 out of 10s and the 3.5 stars on Letterboxd scores now. So they're all up from there. It's just really good. So stranded at a desolate Nevada motel during a nasty rainstorm, 10 strangers become acquainted with each other when they realise they're being killed off one by one. As of late, even though I'm sort of in a horror phase, I'm trying to watch a lot of movies that have decent twists and turns, and this was really one of them that was recommended on one of the many Google articles about that. A really nice twist in this one, a great cast as well. But if you boil it down, it's a pointless movie. But it is an enjoyable watch. It's the twist is good, and it's just a bit uncomfortable, but it's good. Go watch it. 28, Quiet Place, Day 1. So a young woman named Sam finds herself trapped in New York City during the early stages of an invasion by alien creatures with ultra-sensitive hearing. So this is a really cool entry into the Quiet Place franchise. I felt it jumped into it way too quickly, but then again, how much build-up do you need for an alien invasion, I suppose? I felt the pacing was a little bit muddled. Relatively good, feel-good story in the middle of a really horrifying concept, isn't it? But yeah, no, it was good. This is a decent film. Number 27, The Descent. So a cave-in expedition goes horribly wrong when 6 explorers become trapped and ultimately pursued by a strange breed of predators. I feel like I watched this film and I felt really like nostalgic, weirdly. Like, as I say, these are all films I've never seen before, but there's something about the early 2000s horror that just really makes you feel a bit nostalgic, a bit like that Final Destination vibe and, Wrong Turn, that kind of vibe, But I thought the marks were sort of, I kind of wish they'd focus more on the horror of being trapped in the untapped cave system. I think that's so much more interesting than creatures, personally, for me. But, and there's too many over dramatic, in probably 2000s fashion, too many sort of Charlie's Angels, Tomb Raider kind of sequences. But it's a decent horror movie. It was a decent horror movie. Okay, number 26 is Bone Tomahawk. So, in the Old West, a small-town sheriff and his ragtag posse set out to rescue several townspeople from a brutal cave-dwelling, cannibalistic Indian tribe. The final hour of this, compared to the first, is just so much more interesting. That it took a while to get into it, but when it went off, it went off, and it is just delivered on chaos and just absolute. It's just crazy wildness, mad, very disturbing film. There's one scene that just knocks you sick, and if you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, when it went off, it really did well. Really did well. Okay, we're halfway. The Dark and the Wicked. On a secluded farm in a nondescript rural town, a man is slowly dying. His family gathers to mourn, and soon the darkness grows, marked by walking nightmares and a growing sense that something evil is taking over the family. So this is one of the few films on this list that had actually made me physically sweat whilst watching it. The storyline was a little bit naff, but the sort of horror and the imagery and the visuals are just pure nightmare fuel. This, and it's outrageous in terms of that, and that's what sort of made me feel like that. And it brings me nicely into the next segue, number 24, which is Oddity, where the plot is a psychic medium attempts to uncover the truth behind her sister's murder at the site of a crime. It's some of the best jump scares I've ever seen in a movie from this year. I had to pause this one. This one got paused quite a few times after the scares, sort of just to compose myself. It really took it out of me. Really good horror movie, actually. Again, lack of certain quality, like a lot of these movies have, but and a few unanswered questions and errors. But it was a good one. This is a really good horror film, actually. Okay, number 23 is Unbroken. After a near-fatal plane crash in World War II, Olympian Louis Zamperini spends a harrowing 47 days in a raft with 2 fellow crewmen before he's caught by the Japanese Navy and sent to a prisoner of war camp. So this was a chapter in a view into sort of seriously how mad sort of Japanese prisoner of war camps were, as well as the Japanese brutality, really. Jack O'Connell, like most things he did, just an absolute masterclass. Really good movie. I think it's worth watching. Number 22, The Queen of Black Magic, or The Queen of the Black Magic. It's an Indonesian film, this one, and it's revisiting the orphanage where they grew up. 3 men and their families discover a horrific supernatural presence lingering in their former home. This one was really good. I remember watching this one and I was gripped to it. I felt really gripped by this one. It was let down a tiny bit, literally, by a bit of shoddy CGI and a little bit of a weak ending, but this was a really brilliant horror film, and this one's worth it. And if you've got Shudder, this should be the first on your list, or one of them, certainly. It's really good. Okay, When Evil Lurks, number 21. In a remote village, 2 brothers find a demon-infected man just about to give birth to evil itself. They decide to get rid of the body, only to end up unintentionally spreading chaos. The concept for this was fantastic, and it jumped straight into a universe which already had a backstory, and you just kind of picked up that story along the way. It doesn't sort of like reinvent the wheel, like a bit like Spider-Man gets bitten by the spider. How many times have we seen that? Things like that, where it kind of throws you into the universe, the chaos and the disease and stuff like that has already happened, and you've just kind of got to work it out yourself, essentially. But it's really good at doing it. It's extremely grotesque and just very disturbing. A really good horror movie. Really good. Okay, number 20 is Hereditary. So a grieving family is haunted by tragic and disturbing occurrences. This one I had avoided watching since the release, so even though I hadn't watched this in 8 years, when it came out, I'd avoided everything to do with this movie, really, because I knew I wanted to watch it. It was on my list and stuff like that. I just didn't expect it to kind of be like that. I didn't expect the ending either. And again, just for it to get propelled into the next level up from where it is. I mean, 20 is really good out of 50. It was lacking something I just can't put my finger on, but obviously Toni Collette is she's just a joy, isn't she? She's just great in everything she's in. A solid horror movie and a sick and twisted horror film. Keeps you guessing till the end. Number 19, Terrified. So driven by a need to uncover the truth behind a violent haunting in Buenos Aires, retired police officer Funes faces an invisible supernatural threat that forces him to question his sanity and survival. This I think was the first movie I watched on Shudder. Horrifically disturbing. It's exactly what you want from a horror film. Really good, interesting story as well, and just some of the imagery in that. If you've seen this, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. The table, like the kitchen scene, that's just beggars belief how horrible that is. But I can't really say much more than that. Then apart from it's a really good horror film, so go and see it. Okay, number 18 is Late Night with the Devil. So, a live television broadcast in 1977 goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms. This was awesome. I love this film. I thought this was great. It's a really unique concept about sort of, as you just heard in the plot, it's about a 1977 talk show. And the host in that, it's really good. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's really 70s vibe. Obviously filmed modernly. It just, unfortunately, if the last sort of 15-20 minutes didn't let it down, this would have been higher, I think, because this was great. This was a great film. Really like this one. But yeah, go and watch this. Make your own mind up with the ending there. Number 17 is Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. So the crew of a horror web series travels to an abandoned asylum for a live broadcast. It soon encounters much more than expected as it moves deeper inside a nightmarish old building. Another sweat fest. This was, I don't think, and this sounds really extreme and a bit, but this is the closest I think I've been to tapping out of a horror film, which is mad to say because I usually torture myself and push myself through it, but the last 30 minutes or so really had me hiding behind the duvet of this one. It's very good found footage horror movie. That is how you do a found footage film. These and Hell House movies compared to fucking body cam, whatever shit. Anyway, this one's worth watching. Go and watch this one. It's great. Number 16, we've got Backrooms. Now, this will be higher on people's lists. It'll be lower. I think this is quite fair for where I put in it, 16 out of 50. So the plot of this one, after a therapist's patient disappears into a dimension beyond reality, she must venture into the unknown to save him. You don't need to know the plot, really. If you know the Backrooms and a bit about it, you'll know basically what it's all about. But, I thought personally it was brilliant. I know this has got probably one of the biggest sort of splits in terms of discussion and opinion on this film, but I thought it was the imagery. If you boil it down to a horror film itself, the imagery and the atmosphere make it a really good horror film, and it just loses marks for pacing really, and a bit muddled and all over the place, but quite a high score. I don't think I need to say much more about this one really. So moving on to 15, a film called Host. So 6 friends hire a medium to hold a seance via Zoom during lockdown, but they get far more than they bargained for as things quickly go wrong. I think this film's only an hour long or something like that. This is a belter of a horror movie. This is fantastic. I believe it was made in COVID, and that is that theme. These are all I think it's filmed during COVID and made during COVID, and it kind of links back to that time everyone was on doing Zoom calls and Teams meetings or whatever, and they basically hold a seance over that, and it just felt so real and natural and really believable. I'd have liked it to have been longer, to be honest, because they could have built it up more and whatever else, but this is a brilliant example of sort of low budget movies doing their job and getting you hooked. Again, I'd like the sound stuff to be expanded on, but that's me not being picky about the plot or the actual acting or anything like that, because it was brilliant. This is a great one. If you've got a spare hour, watch this one. Number 14, Hell House LLC. 5 years after an unexplained malfunction causes the death of 15 tour-goers and staff on an opening night of a Halloween haunted house tour, a documentary crew travels back to the scene of the tragedy to find out what really happened. So this is, as someone who loves sort of attending horror attractions, sort of Tully's Farm, there'll be loads of others over the country and elsewhere, but Tully's Farm's sort of the main one for sort of where I live, down south. So that's the sort of one. And if you've been there, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This is basically that on the film in America. It's just horrible to watch because I love that. Because I love going to Tully's October and whatever else. This is just horrible to watch because it puts me off going there again. I was on the edge on the whole film, and this is just a pure example of great found footage. This is probably one of the best found footage films I've ever seen. This is just great. Okay, number 13. We've got Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, this might cause a little bit of an argument in terms of my view on it. Again, these are all my views. These are not views of any other media outlet or anything like that. These are my personal views, all right? So if you don't agree with it, you don't have to. I might not agree with yours and vice versa. That's the way the world should work. And people being called out for wrong opinions, I don't think is right. So, but I feel this is fair. Okay, so the plot of Brand New Day was a forgotten Peter Parker lives alone as a full-time Spider-Man. Mounting pressure triggers a dangerous change and a powerful new enemy emerges. So Spidey is back at being a street Spidey, and I feel like if you've played in a weird way, like if you've played the old Spider-Man games on like the PlayStation 1 and stuff like that, this basically felt like that on a movie, which is great. Really, like that. Don't take anything away from it. One, it's Spider-Man. It's the MCU. It's just great. And the action in this film was some of the best MCU action I've seen in a while. And I might piss a lot of people off by saying going back to basics at this point, which is what this film does. Sort of strips it back to neighborhood Spider-Man, stripping it back when Peter Parker's already fought, intergalactic gods and, real threats to humanity. Going back to basics at this point, it just where the MCU is at such a depth now. I mean, they've made their own bed. The MCU essentially, because they've expanded it so much and made it so over the top, and interdimensional and multiverse stuff. This is fun for a couple of hours. This is great, and I love Spider-Man. He's my favourite superhero, and expanded on the powers he's got. That is one good thing in this film. I just wish there was more of a bigger lead up to Doomsday, because I don't think we've had it at all. Whereas kind of on the lead up to Thanos, we kind of had snippets from all different films. So it's another win for Marvel. Of course it is. It's a really good Spider-Man film. If you boil it down to a Spider-Man film on its own, it is a great film, and I'm not taking anything away from that. And Tom Holland's just amazing as ever. But yeah, I think it's good. I'm not taking anything away from this film whatsoever. Okay, moving on to number 12. Then we have Exit 8. The plot: a man becomes increasingly desperate when he realizes he is trapped in a subway station, needing to complete a mission to get out. So how does a really short horror anomaly game make an hour and a half film? Again, I've done a review. Please go and watch it if you want an expanded version of this little tiny synopsis. Watch this one and you'll see how they did it. It's just great. They did extremely well at just keeping you uncomfortable, and the visuals were like for like from the game. It's just fantastic. I really like this one, and again, people might think, it's a bit high. It might be, but this is personal opinion. All right, so I personally enjoyed this, the 12th most out of 50. All right, and then moving on to number 11, before we hit the top 10, is Toy Story 5. Now, Toy Story 5, Woody, Buzz, Jessie, and the rest of the gang's jobs are challenged when they're introduced to electronics, a new threat to playtime. This is just great, man. This is just, the themes for this one are just so good. It just misses out at the top 10 as well, because I really enjoyed this, and probably the best Toy Story aside from number 2. I think this is a fine finale. If they're going to end Toy Story here, I think this is a really good way to see it off. It's a beautiful message and a fresh spin on sort of real world issues. But yeah, it is animation beautiful as ever with Pixar. Misses out slightly on the it just misses out slightly because there's just naturally now recycled in franchise themes that we just do the same thing over and over again in each film, but still it's great. You know, who doesn't love Toy Story and who doesn't want more, you know? But again, the same breath, if they do end it, that is fine as well. Okay, number 10. Welcome to the top 10. John Wick. John Wick, I had put these films off for so long. The plot of John Wick is a former hitman grieving the loss of his true love. When his home is broken into, robbed, and his dog killed, he is forced to return to action to exact revenge. So my notes at the time of watching this one, I think I watched these in like February or something like that. I've never seen a John Wick movie. Now I have. I want to watch them all. Very fun and satisfying. So when I checked the dates from when I watched all 4 of these, I watched all 4 within 2 days. That's how much I loved all these films. John Wick, brilliant. Real deserves a place in this top 10. And then we go to number 9, which is John Wick Chapter 2. So after returning to the criminal underworld to repay a debt, John Wick discovers that a large bounty has been put on his life. Again, referring to my notes, for John Wick Chapter 2, I'd written, why are these films so good? And why has it taken me so long to watch them? And I think, just naturally, as you'll see in number 8, coming up, these just got better and better with each one. And I genuinely did like them in the order that they 1, 2, 3, 4, if that makes sense. Which brings me up to number 8, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. So John Wick is on the run after killing a member of the International Assassins Guild, and with a $14 million price tag on his head, he is the target of hitmen and women everywhere. I genuinely like these movies in order of the release. I thought they just got better and better with each one, and I don't really have much to say per specific one. If you're going to watch one, you should watch them all. They come as a collective. I just think they're great. So, number 7 is Bring Her Back. So we do miss out John Wick Chapter 4, which is coming up, obviously. But yeah, Bring Her Back was a brother and sister uncover a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their new foster mother. Horrifying, heartbreaking, and just outright disturbing, this one. And when you spend sort of 85% of the movie wincing at the screen of a horror movie, you know it's a good one. This is one of the best true horror movies I think I've ever seen. Oh, God, this is horrid. This should be like staple. If you want to watch horror film, a good horror film, this should be it. Let's go and watch this one. Okay, number 6, we have John Wick Chapter 4. So John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. Sorry, losing it a bit. So my favourite one out of the lot, and massive spoiler alert, he's not really gone, is he? Surely not. I think they'll make another one. They've got to. Just to touch on the John Wick movies, as I say, don't go into these if you haven't seen them sort of with any kind of expectation. Just enjoy them for what they are. Just genuinely fantastic action movies with more depth and layers to the action. It's not just action. It's not, all outright action. It's genuinely good. Amazing masterclass acting from Keanu Reeves, and sort of the story is just great in all of them. So I think, yeah, these are great films, and they fully deserve the place in my top 10. Number 5 is One Cut of the Dead. This one, things go badly for a hack director and film crew shooting a new low-budget zombie movie in an abandoned World War II Japanese facility when they are attacked by real zombies. This so nearly got full marks. It makes it into my top 5, though. This was the biggest sort of unexpected shock to make it anywhere near the top 5 here. But it's just actually genius. And in this one, really, this sums up I was had in the first half, And I'm not going to say any more than that. This one, you just need to go and watch it, and you'll know what I mean. Number 4 is Project Hail Mary. A science teacher wakes up alone on a spaceship. As his memory returns, he uncovers a mission to stop a mysterious substance killing Earth's sun, and realizes that an unexpected friendship may be the key. This is the first movie this year that I did a full review on. Again, go and check out that review if you've not seen it. And it has stood the test of time in how I feel about it, and it makes my number 4. I related this so much to my favourite movie of all time, which is Interstellar, and almost put it in the realm of a sort of spiritual sequel to that. A beautiful story, heartwarming, just visually stunning. This is just a must watch, and it's just, this is just great, and I will rewatch it again. I've not actually rewatched any of these films yet this year, but there are several on here that I will rewatch when the time's right. Okay, drum roll please for the top 3. Number 3 is Gone Girl. Now, the plot: the husband of a missing woman becomes the main suspect in her disappearance. I decided one day to watch a film that has many twists and turns. I googled which are the best movies with these twists and turns, and this one sort of was at the top. And I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a go. I've heard of it. It's probably just slipped past me. I've never watched it. There's probably a reason. I don't know. Whatever. So I gave it a go, and I'm glad I did. I couldn't have picked a better movie with better twists and turns to this. This had me captivated, guessing to the very end, and when you deep it as well, it's a very horrible and sickening concept. But this is delivered with sheer finesse, and this is a must watch for any film lover. Yeah, this is just, there's sprinkles of comedy, sprinkles of horror. This is a great film, but I remember being sort of floored by the end of this. Great, and that's why it deserves in my top 3. Okay, number 2 is Obsession. Now, this was the hardest out of the lot, the hardest between 2 and 1, and you'll see number 1 in a minute. And this was the closest it was, and this could have easily been number 1. I've not actually rewatched it since my review and since the first time I watched it. But the plot is obviously Baron Bailey breaks a novelty charm to force his co-worker Nikki Freeman to love him, but a supernatural compulsion warps her mind into violent obsession, trapping him in a nightmare he cannot wish away. And again, based on my review, as if you've seen it or not, and I've put loads of TikToks about this on my own personal account, there's no surprise that I felt this fondly of it. Bearing in mind it's a horror as well, it's just fantastic. It's probably the best horror movie I've ever seen. I don't say that lightly either. I'm getting to the realm of rewatching it, but it's obviously taken me this long because it genuinely is that disturbing. And this deserves all the rewards. This deserves all the awards going. Indy Navarrete should get everything coming her way. She's just the best. One of the best, not only horror performances, but one of the best acting performances I think I've ever seen in a film. And and I think it's just so easy to say, because everyone loves Obsession, it's so easy to say this was a great. Well, again, this is my own personal opinion. I genuinely thought it was this good, and it genuinely does deserve all the plaudits it's getting. Amazing, gripping story, the horror. The combination of it, there's comedy, elements of comedy, black comedy. This is just a must watch for anybody, if you can stomach it, because it's not for the faint-hearted. I promise you that. And then a drum roll, please. Pathetic. Number 1 for me, and I am rewatching it tomorrow in IMAX as it is intended. Number 1 is The Odyssey. Now, after the Trojan War, Odysseus faces a dangerous voyage back to Ithaca, meeting creatures like the Cyclops, sirens, and the Calypso along the way. I don't have much to say about this one, really, apart from this is a perfect gods and monsters epic. This is... that's the thing, when I'm kind of flawed for words, I can't really put into how amazing this film is, and it genuinely is. Like, it's Christopher Nolan again at his very best, and the long run time, people be put off, it just flew by. And to be honest, I didn't want it to end. I could have done with another hour quite comfortably. Genuinely an incredible movie. Just another one that deserves multiple awards. And at the time of, as I say, at the time of reviewing this, I am going to see it tomorrow again in IMAX, how it is intended to be seen. But it's just, I'm very excited to see it again. I honestly don't need to deep dive this one at all. It's almost a perfect movie. The state is just, again, there's elements of so many different genres, and it's just done so well. The horror in it, and really makes me excited for Nolan to basically take on a horror film. I think that's the consensus from it. And just each stage of the journey, but in the plot I just said, it just gets better and better, and it gets more gripping, and you're kind of on the edge of your seat, and it's just, the action's great, and the acting's just, it's just fantastic. This is a must see for anybody. If you like film and you like the cinema, get in the cinema while you can, because this is just great. Cool. That is my 50. Thanks for if you're here at the end. Thank you for bearing with me. That is the 50 movies I've watched this year, ranked for you, and a little bit of my view on each of them. I couldn't obviously deep dive them all because we'd be here till next month. So I do aim to make 100 movies by the end of the new year, and I think when the winter and cold months come, that's when the work kicks in, and we start watching more movies. But I'm excited to see what the next sort of part of the year has in store for me in terms of movies. Please hit me with the comments below how many films you've got logged this year so far. What are your favourites? What are your opinions on my rankings as well? Have I said anything outrageous? Have I said anything stupid? Do you not agree with certain films that are in certain places? Please, I'm here. I want to have that discussion. I think it's great. I think the more people that talk about films and just general hobbies they like and stuff like that, I just think, why wouldn't you? So yeah, by all means, comment down below, comment whenever, message me, talk to us on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. We're always available. We always want to chat about anything. Don't have to be movies. It could be anything geeky. It could be anything. If you just want to chat about anything. But again, I've got to go back to say thank you everybody that have subscribed to us. 100, more than 100 now. Obviously, this is a win for us. We feel, and we're going to carry on and keep going and delivering you guys with the goods. There'll be more elements of these sort of videos where I'm talking or one of the boys are talking, or we're going to be doing sort of podcast kind of vibes, which is what we've been talking about for a while. So stay tuned to that. The box break stuff still going to hang around, but we will be changing it up a little bit in that sense. But all I can say is thank you again for everybody's support and their sort of the support and the donations and whatever else throughout, and we really do appreciate it, and we love you guys. So I've been Mr. Snorlaxx. That have been my 50 movies I've watched this year, putting a rank for you and giving you a little bit of a review. So as I say, thank you for being on this with me. And probably at the end of the year, if I've done 50 more, there'll be another 50 for you to come. Alright, but as I say, I'm Mr. Snorlaxx, and I will say at this point, adios.